Hi, I'm Tina Swithin, author of Divorcing a Narcissist and founder of One Mom's Battle. And today it's my goal to talk to you about communication with the narcissist, which we all know is, it's almost like learning a foreign language. And I tell people that it is so critical to learn that language. And a lot of people will come back at me and say, I don't want to learn how to think like a narcissist or a sociopath. I don't want to get in their brain. And, I explain it like this. If you were going to another country on vacation for 2 weeks, you would learn enough of that language to navigate around the country. But when you came back, you would not still be speaking that language. You would kind of put that knowledge and information that you've obtained up on a shelf until you needed it for the next time or the next trip. And so that's how I like to think of it. I've written a book called The Narc Decoder, Understanding the Language of the Narcissist. And if you haven't read it, I often tell people, if you can only buy one of my books, and you are co-parenting with a narcissist, a borderline, or a sociopath, that's the book I recommend, because so much of your family court case will come down to your communication. And you're going to be heavily watched by the judge or family court professionals over time to make sure that you are not part of the high conflict equation. And that can take years for the courts to see who the problem is, but you need to keep your side of the street very squeaky clean. I often say, when you are putting things in writing to one of these disordered individuals, you're not writing it for them, you're writing it for the court system. Every single thing you put in writing or you say, you should feel comfortable repeating that out loud on the stand in court to the judge, because chances are you may have to at some point. One of the things that, when I was first educating myself on divorcing a narcissist at the beginning of my custody battle, I read up on gray rock. And that is a method of communication that is recommended when you are dealing with a high conflict person. And I first came across the article on Love Fraud's website, and it made a lot of sense to me. I don't know who coined the term gray rock. It was submitted anonymously, or I would be happy to give them credit, because it's truly a brilliant form of communication. The whole concept and idea is that when you're communicating, you are so boring that you have the personality of a gray rock. And that way the narcissist or sociopath doesn't come to you to get their feed. And it can take a lot of time for them to realize that no matter what they, come at you with, that you're going to maintain the personality of a gray rock and not give them what they're looking for. I like to equate the narcissistic feed to a drug and a drug addict. If the supplier of the drug completely cuts them off and closes up shop, the drug addict is no longer going to go to their front door anymore to get their fix. And it works the same way with us. If my ex-husband sends me this horrible attacking email about my parenting or who I am as a person, early on in my custody battle, it would bring me to my knees. I would spend hours trying to answer to his email, trying to explain who I was, and that what I was being accused of was so false. And, wow, I look back at those emails and I cringe, because I was giving him the drug that he wanted. They don't care if it's good or bad attention. It's almost like a 2-year-old or worse. They will provoke you to get a response. And when we give it to them, it only encourages the behavior. Once I understood the recommended responses under the Gray Rock umbrella, my communication to my ex-husband changed, and I took myself out of the equation and no longer was seen as part of the conflict. However, what I have found over the years is that Gray Rock communication, while it's great if you don't have children with the cluster B disordered person, if you are in a custody battle or co-parenting, or even if you have full custody, but you're still needing to communicate, it can really come back to haunt you in court because you look very rigid, you look very cold, and the family court system, no matter how dysfunctional the person is that you're dealing with, they want to see you singing Kumbaya together on Sunday nights. And so you need to present in the best possible light for court. And so I have always done a modified version of Gray Rock. And this is actually a little rock that I keep as a reminder. My daughter painted it, and ironically, it just happened to be a gray rock that she painted, but it's my reminder that I do somewhat of a modified version of Gray Rock. There's a little paint on it, which brightens it up a little bit. And, really in the eyes of the family court professionals, my version tends to work. And so I know it worked in my case, and I see it working in the cases of a lot of my clients. And so the concept is the same. You want to still give no emotion whatsoever, but I like to think of it as communicating with a boss or a colleague, where you're going to be polite and kind, but not overboard, not nauseating, and you still no emotions, but you can get your point across without being seen as cold and calloused. There were times during my own custody battle when I would put my daughters in my ex-husband's car on a Friday afternoon, and I truly didn't know that I would ever see them again. I knew that this was a person who would take my children or end their lives just to hurt me and make it look like an accident. And it was the darkest times of my life. I remember taking pictures of my kids before they left and just praying, trying to solidify their looks and their appearance and their memories and everything in my mind before I put them in that car. But even on those dark days, when I communicated with him by email, I would say, I hope you guys have a great weekend. And I truly did believe that. That was my truth. Or, I truly did mean that because I wanted my children to have a good experience. So I had to remain true to myself and who I was, but I also knew that everything I put in writing would be scrutinized by family court professionals at some point in my case. So, another example of that would be if my ex-husband, sent me a scathing email and there was nothing truly related to the children, but there were accusations about my parenting, I would write back and say, your attempt to portray me in a negative light is noted. However, I do not agree with your interpretation of events. And because if you're doing full Gray Rock communication style, you would completely ignore that email. My opinion from sitting in courtrooms is that ignoring that type of email could actually show that, if you did not respond to it and defend yourself, does that mean it's true? I don't know. I don't know who's going to be reading that down the line and what their interpretation would be. So I got to the point where I did respond to those emails, but it was the same cut and paste, cookie cutter version of responses to where he stopped over time because he got tired of reading the same thing over and over again. And when I say cookie cutter, literally, I would cut and paste that. I had a Word document on my desktop with a variety of canned responses like that one, where I would just cut and paste because I didn't even want a word to be different. I knew he would pick up on that. I wanted it to be as boring as possible, but I wanted to defend myself. So overall, the takeaway is that yes, Grey Rock is a wonderful tool and one that you should absolutely utilize. However, put a little bit of common courtesy into your emails and communication so that you are not seen as part of the problem. You don't want anyone to be able to say that in your communication, they picked up on how much you hated your ex-husband or ex-wife. You want to be seen as the healthier of the two. And so really everything you put in writing, would this be okay to read in court? Would I feel comfortable to read this in front of a judge? And does it represent who I am and my truth? Those are some key points to remember when you are adding common courtesy and politeness to your Grey Rock communication. I hope this has been helpful. I hope you're subscribed to our One Mom's Battle YouTube channel, where every week I will share tips and strategies to help you protect your children, because that's what this is all about.